Hi, this is Pat Duckworth, the author of Hot Women Rock, How to Discover Your Midlife Entrepreneurial Mojo. And my guest today, I first met about 8 years ago at a conference in London. I'd just written my first book, Hot Women Called Solutions, and my guest was on stage talking about her incredible life and career, and she'd just co-written a book with Brian Tracy. So I was in so much awe, and I got over it and went and had a chat with her, and I'm just so pleased that we've been friends ever since. So she's an international best-selling author, an award-winning entrepreneur, a speaker, and the co-founder of Tribe of Traders and Wealth Builder. Over the past 20 years, she's established, built, and sold numerous multi-million-dollar businesses in many categories, from property, logistics, agriculture, industrial hygiene, trading, and coaching in a number of different countries. She studied and researched human potential for over 20 years, and she says it's been her understanding of human behavior and potential that's allowed her to create pioneering business, to be the first to market on ideas and products that have made her fortunes. So you can understand why I'm so pleased that we're talking to her today. So it's a big welcome to Judy van Niekerk. Hi, Judy, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Pat. Sometimes when you read that, so it's like, whoa.
I know, it's really good to hear, isn't it? All that stuff.
Yeah.
So, Judy, I just mentioned that you had a very unusual childhood, and it is very well documented, but it helps to inform some of what's happened later in your life. So tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, unusual for sure. And it's actually quite ironic. We're in the middle of this whole global lockdown. And I had my own version of a lockdown. As I recently calculated, it was about 7,300 days. So almost 2 decades. Yeah, I was in a forced lockdown. I was essentially pretty much locked up, isolated from the world. So not schooled, essentially. And that sort of those early days, they were traumatic. They were pretty extremely challenging. But in those days, they certainly formed the foundations and certainly laid the bedrock for what was to come. And yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, so we had lunch together before Christmas, and I said to you, I know that you didn't have much formal schooling, so what made you so smart? And really, you were just so interested in business from a very early age.
This because I didn't go to school. I had a yearning to learn, and I pretty much didn't really read or write until I was about 12 years old. But after I got the taste of learning, it was like an insatiable hunger. But because I didn't get to go to school as such, I got to choose what I learned and focused on. And we lived in real poverty. It was really bad poverty. In fact, at one point in time, I had to eat dog food out of a tin from being so hungry. So money, wealth, business, economics, as you can imagine, became quite important to me to understand, how the world goes around, what money is all about, what wealth's all about, what makes the world go round. And when kids were typically reading Enid Blyton or Black Beauty or one of those books, I would be reading books on economics and business and studying Adam Smith, the founder of modern day economics. And that's what fascinated me and gave me a drive and clarity as to what it was I was going to do one day when I escaped from this entrapped environment that I was in.
So where did you go? Because you were brought up in Ireland, and then where did you go after that?
When I did escape, I came to London, which is where I am now. But my heart was in South Africa, which is really weird. Because during those days, South Africa as a destination wasn't that popular.
What was it that attracted you about South Africa? Had you read about it, or what was it?
The only thing that I knew was about South Africa at the time. Bearing in mind, in those days, there was no internet. It was like there was television, but no internet. There was television in those days. Just to clarify. But I remember Bishop Desmond Tutu being in Ireland because there was it was during apartheid, and there was this massive campaign in Ireland driven by supermarket shelf packers, believe it or not. Um, they were striking because the supermarkets were stocking South African oranges, and they were striking against it. And Desmond Tutu came over because it's all part of the campaign to have sanctions against South Africa, to abolish apartheid and stuff like that. And it's all part of my studying of economics, business, and also um, philosophy behind sociology. I've become very aware that it didn't sit right with me. And here's the challenge for me is I supported the concept of banning apartheid and moving on from apartheid, but I didn't support the concept of sanctions. From a business perspective, I didn't support it. And I think that's where my interest first was piqued. Because the people who actually suffer at the end of the day is not, it's not governments, it's not the corporates, it's not really even the farmers, it's the workers. Because if they don't work, they live hour to hour, day to day, whereas farmers probably live, year to year in terms of what they can survive on. But the workers, they live day to day, month to month, day to day, week to week, and by not supporting their oranges, they're the ones you're trying to empower. You're actually disempowering them, and that's what actually drove my passion for empowerment, but also more importantly, financial empowerment.
Yeah. So what
Yeah.
did you do when you got to South Africa?
Oh, lots.
Okay, let's narrow that down. What was your first business when you got to South Africa?
Well, interestingly, I worked in various jobs. I was a trading accountant, and I worked as a management accountant. I worked in various jobs, but my claim to fame is that I never lasted more than like 10 months in a job. I was always fired. And that was my claim. And I like to think it's not because I was incompetent, but more because I didn't conform. I had my own ideas, and and not being socialized growing up as well. I didn't have all the niceties. So it became pretty obvious very early on that in order to survive in life, I'm going to have to do my own thing. So and I think that my inability to actually be an employee was driven by my understanding and the strength of knowledge I had about business and economics, and that it makes you a hard person to be an employee if you're driven by the bigger picture. If that makes sense.
So how did you first strike out on your own then and become an ex-employee?
Well, my very first venture into that is like, I had, because I never got toys as a child and nice things, I developed this passion for cuddly toys, right, as a young woman. And I was like, the last time I got fired, I'll never forget walking out. It was like, got fired. I always negotiated really good deals, right? Always like, I got 10 months pay or 12 months pay or something, whatever. It was always a good deal because I was never fired for bad conduct or incompetence. They had to pay me off, right? So I made it hard for them. So so I never forget walking out of the office and thinking, here we go again, like, 101 songs going around my head, and I'm looking up at Table Mountain, clear blue sky. It's absolutely exquisite, lovely and warm. It was a summer's day. And I remember driving home and sitting down the sofa, grabbing because the sofa was full of soft toys, and grabbing one of them. What now? And then I got an idea, and what eventually became called Dial a Teddy. And that was my first ever business idea, was Dial a Teddy. And I must say that I learned more about human behavior in that one business than I did for many, many, many years after that. This was like, basically you got, I had a motorbike, I could get soft toys, and I did strategic partnerships with florists and with chocolates and sweet shops and liquor stores, and put ads in in the newspaper. And in those days, you didn't get the resources that we have now. There was no internet banking, no like instant, snappy prints and all this sort of stuff. So I hand drew posters to put into the shop windows and stuff like that. So,
it sounds like fun. So give us a taste of some of the businesses that you've had since then.
Oh yes, because one of the businesses I worked for in South Africa was a business called Rent-A-Kill, and I some of the sort of like nasties that industrial hygiene companies used. It's not so much now, but used in those days, were pretty nasty. And as a sideline, I'd always kept interested in that, and I kept sort of some contact with some of the laboratories I had been exposed to whilst I worked there. And then I got an idea, long before it became a thing. Well, I'm absolutely sure, nature being nature, there's things that we can do that are natural, that we can use that are natural. And then I started working with laboratories on creating products that industrial hygiene companies could use that are environmentally friendly. And believe it or not, the first ever company in the country to use my products was what's now known as Gauteng Airport, which is Johannesburg International Airport. So that was my first ever client. Oh, yeah, like, yeah, that was quite daunting. I mean, like, sold off that. Then I went into, in the meantime, I was almost full-time sports person as well, because I was competing for South Africa in various sports. Then I went into...
That's a bit of a throwaway, Judy. What sports were you competing in?
The one internationally at the World Championships was scuba diving. So it was underwater orienteering. That was at World Championships, and I was always also competitive in swimming and paragliding and water skiing as well. So amongst other stuff, there was properties, there was other stuff I did, assisting businesses transition, over the Y2K and stuff like that. But also one of the biggest ones around then was I decided that I like wine, so so I thought, well, instead of buying wine, why don't I start a wine farm? So I tricked Tiny Shame, my husband. I tricked him one day. We're going out for a drive in the country. In the meantime, I had plans to see estate agents to buy land. So, but here's the funny thing is that one would think if you're going to start a wine farm in South Africa, well, you would do it in the Cape where there are wine farms. But I got a bee in my bonnet and I said, no, there's 600 wine farms and 2,000 grape growers. Why on earth would I start a wine farm in the Cape? So we went to the other side of the country and started a wine farm there, which at the time, what I didn't know at the time was actually it was against the law to plant vines outside of the Cape. So I had to get the law changed. And then I had to get the area designated as a wine region. So that was a whole challenge, which we eventually did. We had, oh my gosh, I don't know, 25, 30 hectares of vineyards. We had three wineries. We had a distribution company. It was like massive. It was absolutely massive. And we made history in that it was the first ever wine region, first ever wine from that region or outside of the Cape. But what's more important to me is that when I started that, and this is interesting for what I do now, when I started that project, it was very exciting, very new, a lot of learning, as you can imagine. And I knew how to drink wine. We knew how to drink wine. We did not know how to make wine. So that was interesting. And we won a lot of awards. I was International Woman Winemaker in 2008. So we got there, but it still left me with a void. It left me that it's not quite what I wanted to do. It didn't fulfill me. And then I had an epiphany, I suppose, because in this particular part of the country, KwaZulu-Natal, which is like where Durban is, you've got a magnificent coastline, beautiful coastline on the Indian Ocean. Properties are going like 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 million. But 2 kilometers inland, you have people living in mud huts with no running water, no electricity, nothing. So, and I thought, well, well, all I'm doing here, because what I was doing was I was generating interest in the wine business. Other people were planting vineyards, and it was growing. And I'm thinking, well, all I'm doing is replicating what we've got in the Cape, which is a white-dominated, elitist type of industry. So I then went to government and said, okay, because there's hundreds of thousands of hectares of tribal land lying fallow, not doing anything, and it's not overly fertile, which is perfect for vineyards. So I went to government and said, right, come on, work with me and let's plant vineyards on tribal land. And, media got hold of it and like had an absolute field day with me on that, sort of pulling my leg about it. Oh, we're going to have banana wine, or we're going to have avocado wine. Anyway, so eventually I got them to agree to work with me. And we then planted vineyards on tribal land. And that within itself was a magnificent, incredible, funny, hilarious, inspiring story in itself. Because the tribal communities, they typically would drink beer. These Zulu tribal communities would drink beer, not wine. So it was a whole big new thing to them. They would never have even tasted a grape.
Oh.
Grape would have been a luxury. Table grapes, eating grapes would be a luxury. So we got to plant these vineyards and work with the tribal communities. And the idea was that they were co-ops. Mm-hmm. So creating hundreds of jobs and all that. And the nice thing is that that's still going and still thriving now.
So fast forward, you come back to the UK. And when I met you, you were working as a coach, coaching people to charge their challenges, to face, to use the challenges they'd had in order to really supercharge what their lives and their businesses. But then you did a major 180-degree turn. So tell us about that.
Yes. What I actually realized was, as much as I love, my body of work, Charter Challenges is part of that. It's the trilogy of transformation. So Charter Challenges forms part of that. And I absolutely love that. But what was missing for me, Pat, was a greater, what would I call it? A greater reason behind why I was doing what I was doing. So, and that was missing. And I wasn't getting the success that I normally would typically get and whenever I put my mind to. And two, it wasn't having the impact that I know I can have. So after a while, I took a step back and just thought, okay, I need to rethink this. So I completely retreated and went off on holiday, as you do, and went to Thailand. Tyne and I went to Thailand, and we were diving. And then one day in the pool with a cocktail in hand, I said to Tiny, I think I'm going to go back into trading, because that was my very first ever job. I was trading oil and gas futures like 20 years back. And Tiny said, that's a very good idea. He jumped at it. He thought, that's the best idea you've had in a lifetime. Because he knows that, that's my passion, and it's my area. It's like, it's really, really good. And it doesn't involve hundreds of thousands or hundreds of millions of investment of stuff. It's like the wine did, for example. He was like, yeah, well, thank God for that. It's a low investment business. So I got into trading, and very soon found, oh my gosh, that's a big story between you and me, isn't it? Can I share that story?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
So I fell for, when I got into trading, it was very different. It was, 20 years now. So, and I specifically went into Forex trading, and I fell for all the loopholes that makes trading have the bad reputation that it has, and why so many traders actually fail. I fell for that, all of it. And the ultimate was when you phoned me one day and you said, you're going to speak in India at the WEF, was it?
Yeah.
In India, and we arranged to get together in Cambridge to find an outfit for you. And the day came, and I was supposed to be on a train at 9:30, something like that. And I phoned you to say, oh no, the trains are cancelled. I lied to you. And what I was doing was I was sitting in front of my computer watching my trades, doing what traders do very well in order to lose, right? I was doing it very well. And I was sitting there watching my trades and becoming obsessed with my trades and emotional about my trades. And I couldn't pull myself away, to the point that it it dominated me so much that I actually picked up the phone and I said, I lied to you, so that it's the trains are late or something like that. Anyway, I did eventually get up to Cambridge with you, and as you may remember, I spent most of the day on my phone watching this one bloody trade. And
And it
anyway, that
wasn't for a lot of money, was it? I mean, we're not
was
talking.
50 quid. It was 50 bloody pounds. Seriously. But here's the scary thing, Pat. It's not unusual. The majority of retail traders that get into trading, that's the state they get into over their trades. And there's a whole lot of reasons for that. But when I came back home, met Tiny, the trade lost. I burst into tears. I said, I'm useless. I'm no good. Tiny's looking at me as if to say, who have I married now after 20 years, right? And that was a wake-up call for me. So, and I thought, no, man, there's something wrong here. So I took a step back and I looked at it objectively, and I started looking at it from an entrepreneur's perspective. And it was as clear as day what all the loopholes were, what all the pitfalls were that, the pitfalls are that people take. So I I did some research, started to learn and understand what it is about trading that sort of like highlights all people's weaknesses that makes them fall for these pitfalls. And then I started to come back into trading and started to really thrive to the point where I became much more in charge, much more in control, roped Tiny in again, got him to code up my strategies, and then the Tribe of Traders was born.
And Tribe of Traders is such a massive success now. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, it is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. When somebody says to me, what is it about Tribe of Traders? And I say, well, it's our unique approach to trading that makes us successful. And we have a completely different perspective around trading. So we don't call ourselves traders, we call ourselves wealth builders. So, and I think there's a lot of ego tied up with the name of trader, and that triggers a lot of the egoic behavior around it. So we have a very different approach to trading. We have a very much a business approach to trading, which is very unusual in the market. And essentially what I do when people join the Tribe of Traders, if they already have been trading, I say, okay, you join us, but there's one condition. You have to unlearn everything you've learned about trading, because essentially our philosophy is you only need to know what you need to know to trade this one or two strategies, and nothing else matters. Because at the end of the day, you're looking to compound your account. You're looking to build wealth. That's all. You're not looking for a career in trading. And that's one of the mistakes a lot of people make, is they try and learn everything there is to know about trading when it's just noise. You don't need that. Just focus. Just remain very focused and focus on building wealth rather than trading. So yeah, it's become really, really successful. So
incredibly successful. It's a fantastic story. So this is Pat Duckworth, and I'm talking today to Judy van Niekerk. And Judy, what drives you now? What do you see as your purpose in life now with this business?
Interestingly, what I found was, we spoke briefly earlier about Charge Your Challenge and the Trilogy of Transformation. Interesting is that in what empowers the traders that we have in the Tribe of Traders is that work. So I said to you, I didn't have a bigger purpose behind it when I was doing it, and it was just like challenges. Whereas now, my focus and what drives me, inspires me, is empowering people to become financially empowered. And trading is one of those ways. So you get to use that body of work with my traders in the Tribe of Traders. And now I'm actually doing it outside of the Tribe of Traders now, but again, using that same work, but focused on financial empowerment. Because one of the things that, for me, being empowered is very important. If I look back over my life, if you can, like the Dial of Teddy was about empowering people, making people feel good. The hygiene business was about empowering, making sure that we use products that were healthy for us and the planet. And if I look at certainly the wine business, my primary focus there was empowering. So everything I've ever done has always been focused about empowering. But
Mm.
now I'm specializing in the financial empowerment, because I believe if you're not empowered financially, you cannot be empowered in life. A lot of people are not going to maybe not feel comfortable with that statement, but it's a very sad fact of life. If you're not empowered financially, you're going to be spending a lot of your time, energy, and headspace in focusing on that, on getting by, rather than focusing on fulfilling your potential.
So what
So
would you say are your particular strengths? And are these the strengths that you're looking for in the people who join Tribe of Traders as well? Is there a certain skill set that would make them successful?
yeah, there is one. There's just one really, and that is the ability to be really honest with yourself.
Mm.
That is it. And I think that is what has served me throughout my childhood, my unusual childhood, and going all through my life, is that ability to be extremely honest with myself and not try and justify my gains, my losses, my successes, my failures, and to accept the fact that I'm the cause of my effect.
Mm.
Because that's the true essence that comes out when you are able to be 100% honest with yourself, is that you accept, acknowledge, and totally embrace that you're the cause of your own effect. People find that very, very hard to do for a whole
Yeah.
host of reasons. But what if you can do that, understand how empowering it is, because at the end of the day, you have masterfully curated whatever it is in your life right now. You accept that, you know that then you can create anything.
Yeah.
Anything. It's in your control.
Yeah, and at the moment, I think that whole message about recognizing what's inside your control and what's outside of your control and
Yeah.
focusing on what's inside your control, it's a really important message, because when things seem to be in turmoil around you, the more control you have of yourself and what you're experiencing, and if you like, the more honest you are with yourself, the more you're going to come through it with strength and grace.
Yeah.
So, what does success mean to you now?
uh, okay, I have a success for me is I have this saying: a fun-filled life is a fulfilled life. That to me is success. And as long as I'm having fun, and I'm not just talking about the frivolous party fun, I'm talking about heartfelt, heart-centered, empowered, joy, fulfillment, fun. So that's it. And time spent with my hubby, Tiny, um, having fun, just having fun, whatever it is that I'm doing, having fun. And I think that is something that we lose sight of.
Mm.
We forget to have fun. It's okay to have fun making money. It's okay to have fun building wealth. It's okay to have fun doing whatever it is that your heart desires. Otherwise, you take yourself and life and everything way too seriously. And
Yeah,
that just builds up stress, adrenaline, and cortisol that ages you.
excellent. And what would be your top tip for a new entrepreneur, whatever they're stepping into?
Oh, make sure they're passionate about it and understand what the word passion means. People misunderstand passion for just what they love. Passion means that you embrace both support and challenge equally in pursuit of whatever your passion is. So make sure that whatever it is that you choose to do, you're passionate about it. And when you're passionate about it, you will do what it takes. You'll embrace the hard times, the challenging parts. You will embrace getting out of your comfort zone, and you'll embrace doing what it takes as readily and easily as you will the support.
Yeah, I think that's really important, because if you're not passionate about your business, then when the challenges come up and the obstacles come up,
Yeah.
you might think that you're going in the wrong direction. You think, oh, it's supposed to be easier than this. Well, it's not. It's no
Yes.
right for it to be easier. It's just that you have to embrace it and find the fun even in the challenges, as we're all going through business challenges at the moment. And where can we find the joy in it? Where can we find the fun in it? what can we do differently. So it's a really important message. Judy, I love talking to you, and I find more out about you all the time. People watching, if they want to find out more about you and the work that you do, how do they do that?
Well, I've got a website, it's judyvee.com, and then there's various ways of interacting. There's like a wealth quiz on there, or you can join a 3-day accelerator program, which is specifically crafted for thriving through this lockdown, this situation that we find ourselves in. So I'm having to use my own strategies that I used to thrive and set myself up for success during those early years that I was in that forced lockdown.
So what have we learned from Judy today? Well, that whole part about finding your passion so that you can embrace the challenges of business as well as the good times of it. It's about that ability to be honest with yourself that's really important. Being able to recognize how you feel and being honest about your feelings and everything else about you. And it's also about that financial independence, being financially empowered, because sometimes when you're in what you might think of as a heart-centered business, you might be thinking, oh, well, the money's not important. But unless you've got the money, unless you've got that financial empowerment, you're not going to be able to help as many people as you want to help. So whatever business you're in, financial empowerment is a really important foundation to it, and we shouldn't forget that. So Judy, thank you so much, and it'd be lovely to talk to you again soon, particularly when we can get out of lockdown.
Yeah, let's go for one of our lunches, Pat. Can't wait.
I'll start looking forward to it already. And
thank you so much.
And for all of our viewers, keep watching out for more of these interviews with amazing entrepreneurs, and I'll see you next time.